what we look at the store. We want to take them all home. But there's actually a way of assessing a plant to know how healthy it is and if it's a good specimen. And it's a #1 flowering plant in America, so it's worth knowing. So here we go. This is a moth orchid. The first thing you start to look at is take a look at the roots. As you can see here, these roots, they don't look like ordinary roots, but they're very plump and they're green. They look healthy. Sometimes they can be a little silvery. That's okay too. So you must have healthy roots. The second thing is the leaves. Look at this. They're kind of upright. If you touch them, they feel kind of plump and spongy. That means they're well hydrated. They don't have a lot of blemishes. Perfect. Now let's look at the stem. It's on a stake, which is perfect, but it should be nice and firm. It shouldn't be too crooked, and this looks nice. Now the most important thing, Debbie, too, for those of us who love orchids to have flowers on them a long time, never select an orchid that doesn't have any unopened buds. You see this? It's got a bunch of them. That means that after these have faded, because these start blooming from the bottom, these are going to open up. You have like 3 months more of blooms here.
3 months.
Yeah,
that's
so
fantastic.
Always make sure, don't get the ones that don't have any blooms.
Okay, you said we can diagnose orchid problems by their roots and their leaves.
So here's the thing, guys. Like I said, the roots of the orchid plant are very different. And I have one and you have one on your little cutting board. What I want to show you is this. When you peel back, and you have a paring knife there, I think you can do this too. Don't be afraid, because we just cut this off the plant. Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm peeling off the cover, because I want to see if you can see this, guys. This is the actual root. Do you see this little wire? Can you see that? Yeah, it's got it's like a conduit. Yeah. So when you look at the roots of an orchid, it's actually a covering. It's called the velamen.
Interesting.
And the reason why this is important is because the velamen, the way it looks, the way it feels, will tell you a lot about the health of the plant. So let me show you something. The job of the velamen is to absorb water. And so this is gray and silver. That means that it actually needs water. So I'm going to put some water here. Look how green it turns.
I have water.
Because it absorbs. Can you guys see how green it's turning?
Look how quickly mine turns green.
So after you water your orchids correctly, you're going to notice that your roots should look green like this, guys.
Immediately it got green.
See, you just learned something, right?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay, so that is what it looks like.
Okay, so if it's silvery and plump like that, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it needs to be watered.
But there are signs of something that hasn't been watered.
Okay.
You want to see what that looks like?
Let's see that.
Okay, guys, take a look at this sad little puppy. Unfortunately, a lot of us have this at home looking like this. Okay, so this is the sign of an underwatered orchid. First of all, look at the leaves. The leaves are kind of prostrate. They're bowing down. They're like flaccid. They're not firm. And telltale sign, look at the pleats on here. You can see the pleats. You see how flat? You have one too, right? Now, the sign of an underwatered is that it will be brittle. Look at that. It just came right off.
Oh, yeah.
And so to keep your plant healthy, Debbie, grab your pruners and when you see parched roots like that, cut them off. Because what will happen is once you start watering your plant, it's not alive. And so it's just going to rot and it's going to bring fungus to your plant. And then once you take off all of the parched, flat, brittle roots, then Debbie, you're going to have the fun part. Take that plant now, Debs, and I want you to drench it. And that is the proper watering, friends.
Okay, I want to talk to you about this.
Okay, let's talk.
I have been told so many times, I love orchids and I buy orchids for everybody, and I've been told time and time again, you're supposed to put 2 ice cubes in the orchid, let it be, just put 2 ice cubes once a week or once a week and a half. Okay,
you were lucky, and a lot of people get lucky. There are strains of orchids that have been made that can take the ice, but these are exotic tropical plants. The best thing to do is when it needs to be watered, you thoroughly until the water runs out.
Like that.
That is correct. And then the other thing is, Debbie, you can add a little bit of humidity to the plant ambiance by putting gravel in a little bowl and filling it with water once a week. Put that next to your plant and it will have the proper condition.
So that's basically like having a humidifier.
Correct.
What about ones that are showing signs of being just overly watered?
Okay, here are the signs, guys. Again, look at the leaves, look at the roots. The leaves are flaccid. They're yellow. Sometimes the leaf will just fall off. It's rotting away. But look at the roots of this. You can feel that it is wet.
Yikes.
You can feel that it's not spongy. You can actually, when you touch it, you can feel the wire underneath, which is the root.
And it pulls out pretty easily.
That's right. So what you do, friends, do not be afraid. You go ahead with sanitized pruners and you take off all of the unhealthy, dead, mushy, rotten roots. And then you're going to put 3% hydrogen peroxide because you want to make sure that you get rid of the fungus. And so don't be afraid because there's still some very healthy roots on here, and that's why I can cut the majority of this. So I've done this. You see the brown and the black here, not good. But look, we've got some very nice roots. So here's what we do. We're going to spray it with hydrogen peroxide, 3%, I think it says that, just like that. And then you want to repot it in fresh soil. So I've got some orchid bark here. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. These roots, they were sticking out. They should still be sticking out. Whenever you repot an orchid, if you have the aerial roots, make sure they're not under the soil or the bark.
And you're going to bring it back to life just by doing
Just like that. Look, Deb.
That's amazing,
This is a new plant.
Oh.
We're going to water it in a week, and
Okay.
then it's going to be gorgeous.
Real quickly before we go, how can I get my orchid to continue to bloom
Okay, here's
year
what
after
you do.
year? Because mine always blooms
Yes.
once and then I'm done.
Once all of the flowers fade, you want to take your pruners and count the nodes. They're the ones with the bands here along the stem. 2, this is number 2, this is number 3. Cut right above it, and then go to the Hallmark website where I have all the care instructions about temperature, light, watering. Do all of that and fertilizing. In 8 to 10 weeks, you can have more flowers and you can have it year-round.
Thank you so much. You always have such great information. And for more orchid care details, do visit hallmarkchannel.com and edenmakers.com, just like Shirley said.